This is factoring polynomials in the form of x squared plus bx plus c, where b and c are constants. So when you're writing a polynomial as a product of factors, it's called factoring. To factor something like x squared plus bx plus c into two binomials, x plus p and x plus q, you need to find p and q. Now the things we know are p and q should equal our constant b, and p times q should equal our constant c. When we're looking at a problem like x squared plus 10x plus 16, I know that when I'm factoring it, the values of p and q will have to both have the same sign, because when we multiply them, we're getting positive 16. So two positive numbers multiplied together or two negative numbers could give you a positive answer. So in this case, because this number, our c constant, is positive, we know p and q have the same sign. We also can figure out that p and q must be positive because when I add them together, they're both going to be multiplied by x. When I add them together, we get a total of 10. So that's a positive number, so we have to be adding two positives to get a positive. So things that could multiply to give us 16. Well, we've got 1 and 16, possibly 2 times 8, or 4 times 4. Now, if I add these numbers, 1 and 16 gives me a sum of 17. I'm looking for a sum of 10. 2 and 8 gives me a sum of 10. And 4 plus 4 gives me a sum of 8. So here's the only one that's working. So looks like my answer is going to be x plus 2 and x plus 8. But we're going to check that using the FOIL method. So FOIL says first you're going to multiply the two first values, x times x, which gives us x squared. Then you're going to do the outer ones. X times 8 would give us 8x. The inner two, 2 times x, would give us 2x. And the last, 2 times 8, would give us 16. And our two middle ones can combine to give us 8 squared plus 10x plus 16. Which is what we started with, so we know we have factored it correctly. So our answer would be x plus 2 times x plus 8. In this case, I'm trying to factor x squared minus 8x plus 12. Once again, I know p and q must have the same sign because together multiplied, they give us an answer of 12. And either two positives or two negatives will multiply together to give you a positive product. Now, I also can figure out that p and q are going to be negative in this case because when I add them together, I get negative 8. So I have to be adding two negative numbers to get negative 8. So possible things that are negative that multiply to give us an answer of 12 would be negative 1 and negative 12, negative 2 and negative 6, or negative 3 and negative 4. So now I'm going to add these together. These two would give me a sum of negative 13. Here I'd get a sum of negative 8. Here I'd get a sum of negative 7. And I'm looking for a sum of negative 8. So it looks like this one is going to work. So I'm going to have x minus 2, x minus 6 as my factored form here. But we're always going to check it using the FOIL method. So I got x minus 2, x minus 6. So first I multiply my first values. X times x is x squared. Then the last two, x times negative 6 will give me minus 6x. Then the inner ones, negative 2 times x will give me minus 2x. And finally the last, negative 2 times negative 6 will give me 12. So I'll combine my two middle ones and I'll have x squared minus 8x plus 12, which is the original polynomial I started with, so we're good. So let's take a look. Here we're factoring x squared plus 4x minus 21, and this is the first time I notice p and q must have different signs. And the reason that I know this is because to get a negative value for c here, I have to be multiplying a positive and a negative. So I want things that can give me a product of negative 21, where one is positive and one is negative. Now together they have to add up to 4. So I could have negative 1 and positive 21, or maybe positive 1 and negative 21. I could have negative 3 and positive 7, or positive 3 and negative 7. So let's add these up. Here I'd get 20, here I'd get negative 20, here I get 4, here I get negative 4, and I'm looking for a sum of 4. So it looks like my answer is going to be x minus 3, x plus 7. But we're going to check it using our FOIL method. So x minus 3, x plus 7. So I'm doing my first values multiplied. X times x is x squared. Then my outer ones, 7 times x is 7x. My inner values, negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times 7, negative 21. So I'm going to combine these two in the middle, and I get x squared plus 4x minus 21, which is what I started with, so my factoring works. So let's take a look at a real-life problem. Here we have a farmer who has planted a rectangular pumpkin patch in the northeast corner of his square plot of land. So up here is his pumpkin patch. The area of the pumpkin patch is 600 meters squared. What's the area of the entire plot of land? Well, I don't know the value of these sides. We're just calling them S meters. But I know this little section right here is 30. So whatever S is, this piece from here to here has to be whatever S is minus this 30. On this side, that piece is 40. I don't know what S is, but this piece here is S minus 40. So when I'm trying to find the area of that rectangular piece, I'm doing S minus 40, my width, times S minus 30, which is my length. So in this case, I'm going to here set this equal to 600, because I know that that's what my area equals, and I'm going to simplify this polynomial here. So I'm going to get S squared minus 30S minus 40S plus 1,200 equals 600. Then I'm going to combine here S squared minus 70S plus 1,200 equals 600. Now I want to get this equal to 0 here. So I'm going to subtract 600 from both sides, which will bring this down to 0 and this down to 600. Okay. From here now, I want to try to factor this. I want two things that multiply to give me 600, but when I add them, I get negative 70. So this is telling me that they are having the same sign because I'm getting 600, but they're both negative because I'm getting a negative sum. So I automatically think of 1 times 600, 2 times 300, 5 times 120, 10 times 60. So I know these are, negatives, because I'm getting a negative sum. So if I'm adding some of these up, I'm getting negative 601, negative 302, negative 125, negative 70. This is what I'm looking for. So S minus 10 and S minus 60. So in order to make this 0, S would have to be either 10 or S would have to be 60. Now in this case, we're talking about an actual plot of land. It can't be one or the other. It's got to be one of these. So I'm going to try to narrow it down by plugging it back in. If I try 60 in here, 10 minus 30 would give me negative 20. And there's no way for this side to be negative 20 meters. So this answer seems like it's out. So that means that each side here is 60. And what they wanted to know was, what is the area of the square plot of land? So it would be 60 times 60. Our square plot of land would be 3,600 meters squared.